The moment he looks his family's killer dead in the eye, there is no fear left in him, only pure, unadulterated rage. Marooned inside a speeding command train with a massive live military rocket engine slipping its gears right next to him, the legendary warrior refuses to back down. His nemesis stands over him, arrogantly demanding any final words to spit out before delivering a fatal blow. But instead of begging for mercy, the battered commander looks up and spits out a heavy metal retaining bolt he had secretly unthreaded from the missile's structural mount. Without the locking pin, the volatile weapon ignites with immense kinetic force. The villain's triumphant smile instantly vanishes, replaced by absolute panic as he turns and runs for his life toward the end of the carriage. But it is already too late. The heavy missile drills directly into his skull, bursting the entire command train apart in a glorious, fiery detonation that echoes across the frozen landscape. His name is Atami Korpi. Long before he became an unstoppable, mythic force known to his enemies as Kashii the Immortal, he was a highly decorated Finnish commando. But when the brutal conclusion of World War II forces Finland to cede its Karelia territory to the Soviet Union, Atami joins the hundreds of thousands of forcibly displaced Finns pushed out of their ancestral homes. Driven by a profound ache for the life he lost, Atami crosses back over the newly drawn Soviet border with his travel documents and his loyal dog, determined to stand on the tragic ground where ruthless Soviet forces slaughtered his entire family. Stepping inside the dilapidated, dust-covered structure of his old house, Atami is instantly crushed by the weight of devastating grief. He discovers the fading old wall markings that once measured his children's heights, and as he wanders deeper into the bedrooms, he finds a preserved family photograph. Heartbroken but fueled by a quiet purpose, he breaks down the thick wooden logs of the house. He intends to transport this timber back onto Finnish soil to rebuild a new homestead in honor of his lost wife and 2 sons. By nightfall, he secures the lumber onto his truck, burns the remaining debris and begins his return journey. Meanwhile, deep within a harsh Siberian prison, a brutal Soviet Red Army commander named Jagger is abruptly released from his cell. He is brought directly before a superior KGB officer who confronts him with his past wartime atrocities. The officer notes that Jagger's team burned down entire villages and ruthlessly slaughtered civilians to save ammunition, specifically a young mother named Taliki, her 6-year-old boy Otava, and her 2-year-old baby Otso. The officer warns Jagger that this specific family belonged to Atami, a vengeful commando who retaliated by single-handedly eliminating over 300 Soviet troops, earning him the terrifying reputation of an immortal killing machine. Having discovered that Atami crossed back into Soviet territory just 10 hours prior, the KGB offers Jagger a massive financial payout to track down and neutralize the legend once and for all. Completely unaware of the target on his back, Atami drives down a secluded road until a Soviet military jeep blocks his path, while a second vehicle pulls up tightly behind him. A soldier confiscates Atami's passport and hands it over to Jagger, who is waiting in the rear car. Instantly recognizing the scarred face of the legendary commander, Jagger commands his squad to execute him on the spot. Sensing immediate danger, Atami watches as one soldier approaches with a lit Molotov cocktail while another moves to slash his tires. Just as the first soldier gets close, Atami violently kicks his truck door outward, shattering the glass bottle and instantly engulfing the assailant in flames. He slams the truck into reverse, crushing a second soldier and launching his body directly through Jagger's windshield. Gunfire erupts, but Atami disarms an enemy, using him as a human shield before speeding away. A high-speed pursuit begins, forcing Atami to navigate past a heavily armed roadblock in front of a nearby church. When his hostage tries to flee toward the barricade, the panicked Soviet troops mistake him for Atami and gun him down. Seizing the distraction, Atami systematically eliminates the remaining roadblock soldiers, shoots out the tire of Jagger's pursuing vehicle, and accelerates into the distance. Refusing to lose his target, an enraged Jagger calls in heavily armed reinforcements on military motorcycles to join the hunt. The bikers catch up to the truck at a blistering pace, and one lead rider fires a shot directly into the cab, striking Atami in the cheek. Though the bullet tears into his flesh, it barely slows him down. When a rider attempts to leap onto the truck bed, Atami slams on his brakes, causing the motorcycle to crash violently into the rear bumper. He utilizes a heavy metal cargo hook to dislodge the attacker, sending him tumbling onto the highway. As the remaining motorcyclists swarm the vehicle, Atami deliberately sideswipes an abandoned car on the shoulder, triggering a massive explosion that creates a blinding wall of fire. One persistent biker emerges through the flames and climbs through the window to wrestle control of the wheel. Dangling from the open door, Atami wrests a submachine gun away from the attacker, snatches a live grenade from the soldier's vest, and shoves it into the moving spokes of the motorcycle alongside them. He swings himself back into the cab, attaches the cargo hook directly to the remaining attacker's helmet, and hits the gas, snapping the line taut and instantly decapitating the rider. With his entire motorcycle squad wiped out, an infuriated Jagger hurls a Molotov cocktail onto the bed of the truck, setting Atami's salvaged logs ablaze. In a swift counter, Atami throws a dead soldier's body onto Jagger's pursuing vehicle, forcing Jagger to leap from the car a split second before it crashes and explodes. To extinguish the growing fire eating through his precious wood, Atami drives at high speed through thick brush, successfully smothering the flames against the foliage. Stranded in the wilderness, Jagger utilizes a military radio to coordinate an aerial strike, demanding an immediate intervention. Nearby, Atami pulls over briefly to give his thirsty dog a drink and uses the remaining water to cool his engine before painfully extracting a stray bullet fragment from his own cheek. The piece is instantly shattered by the distinct roar of 2 Soviet jets descending from the sky. Shoving his dog back into the cab, Atami hits the gas as a heavy barrage of machine gun fire tears up the dirt road. Seeking temporary cover, he drives inside a large wooden barn, but the aircraft quickly track his position and unleash a salvo of heavy bombs. Atami guns the engine, bursting through the exploding walls of the structure just as it completely obliterates. The aerial assault follows him into a dense forest, where tracer rounds ignite the surrounding trees. Anticipating the low-altitude sweeping maneuver of the lead jet, Atami slams on his brakes at the exact moment the aircraft sweeps low, causing its wing to clip a massive tree trunk and send the pilot into a fiery crash. As Atami emerges from the treeline, the second jet suddenly soars up from a deep canyon, charging the truck head-on with heavy gunfire. When the pilot's ammunition finally runs out, the determined soldier decides to use the aircraft itself as a ramming weapon, aiming directly for the cab before ejecting. Reacting with lightning speed, Atami fires a well-placed rifle shot to cut the support straps holding his cargo. He brakes hard, sending 3 massive wooden logs flying off the truck bed to form a makeshift ramp. The tumbling timber clips the incoming aircraft, spiraling out of control until it crashes violently into the sea, while the pilot safely parachutes down into the distance. Leaving his log behind, Atami approaches the parachuting pilot who has just touched down. The pilot fires his remaining rounds but they miss their mark. When his weapon clicks empty, the pilot suddenly flashes a grin as the distinct sound of another approaching plane echoes in the distance. Atami rushes back to his truck to retrieve his logs and drives off just as the incoming jet drops its bombs, blowing up the smiling pilot who waves farewell. The blast forces Atami's truck directly off a cliffside and into the water below. The cab rapidly floods with water, and Atami helps his dog get some air before gradually opening the window to escape. Realizing he must take the logs, he dives back down to release the tie-down chains, but the immense physical exertion leaves him weak and exhausted. Fortunately, the dog gets up to the surface first, and with the leverage of a floating log, Atami manages to save himself and crawl ashore, where the loyal dog checks on his master until he regains consciousness. Up on the cliff, Jagger surveys the remains of his dead soldiers and deploys a recovery team into the sea to check for them. When the team reports finding the submerged truck but absolutely no sign of a body, Jagger instantly realizes that the stubborn warrior is still attempting to return to Finland. Using salvaged materials, Atami fashions a makeshift vessel with which he and his dog reach the shore, where he discovers an abandoned tank lying on the land. Settling up some explosives to drive the tank, Atami jumpstarts the engine, packing the armored vehicle along with his logs. At the Soviet border station, guards stand ready awaiting Atami's arrival. Jagger waits along the border as well, anticipating the confrontation and spotting him from far ahead through his binoculars. The soldiers open fire, but their bullets bounce harmlessly off the heavy tank. Atami sets up another explosive charge and runs the engine once more, this time with a fire leading to a bunch of bombs and gas tied behind. The driverless tank rapidly approaches the border and explodes right before the line. However, the blast simply launches the tank over to the other side, harming no one but a weakened Atami himself. Atami attempts to slip past the perimeter armed only with a broken wooden knife handle, but the surviving Soviet troops quickly surround him. Weak, battered, and entirely outnumbered, Atami lets his dog go free before he is forced into submission. Before Jagger can deliver a fatal shot, a convoy of high-ranking KGB staff cars pulls into the compound, demanding that the legendary warrior be taken alive for interrogation. Jagger brutally knocks Atami unconscious and drags him away into custody. Atami awakens inside the dark, claustrophobic hull of a moving military train bound for Siberia, suspended by heavy chains while a guard tortures him with a searing whip. Jagger soon enters the compartment, dismissing the guard to confront his captive personally. He sadistically boasts about his wartime atrocities, mocking Atami by stating he has slaughtered so many women and children that their cries blend together, save for one distinct memory: Atami's oldest son Otava, who stood before him to protect his mother and baby brother, fighting like a demon with a pocket knife and nearly taking Jagger's eye out before they executed them all with iron shovels. Jagger presents the stolen height stamp markings to taunt him, promising to beat every memory of the legend out of him because Siberia is a terrible place to be immortal. Left alone as the train speeds along the tracks, Atami's profound grief transforms back into pure, unadulterated rage. Channeling every ounce of his remaining physical strength and sheer anger, he wedges his feet against the beam to break the force of the rings, pulling until he breaks completely loose from his restraints. Outside the door, hearing the heavy thud, 2 terrified guards peer through the viewing slot and play a tense game of rock paper scissors to determine who must enter. The loser tentatively steps inside with his rifle raised, completely unaware that Atami had kept a jagged fragment of a knife concealed beneath his own skin. Atami ambushes the guards in the dark, executing them both silently within the tight quarters. Donning the dead soldier's gear, Atami moves systematically through the speeding train toward his ultimate vengeance. In the luxurious forward dining car, Jagger sits with the high-ranking officers, demanding his financial payout so he can flee the region. The corrupt commander insists they drink a celebratory toast first. At the same moment, Atami slips into the adjacent passenger car where dozens of enemy troops are fast asleep. He tiptoes past their bunks, navigating around hanging limbs with absolute stealth until a dead soldier's blood drips onto the face of a troop sleeping below, awakening him. Realizing he is spotted, Atami immediately drops to the floor, rolling under a bed onto shattered glass from a dropped bottle. Enduring the intense physical pain, he crawls beneath the bunks just as the falling corpse awakens the rest of the cabin. Atami manages to escape safely into the next carriage, where he finds a detachment of heavily armed, alert soldiers. He immediately escapes through a ceiling hatch onto the roof. As he moves across the top of the train, an overhanging low-clearance pipe sweeps him off his feet, sending him crashing directly back down into that very same armed transport car. Utilizing the interior structural pipes to redirect incoming rounds, Atami handles multiple firearms simultaneously, executing a rapid-fire tactical sweep that completely liquidates the remaining enemy detachment. In the dining car, Jagger senses the collision from the ongoing battle. Stepping outside to investigate, Jagger uncouples the rear carriages, leaving the massacred troop cars behind and speeding away in the front section of the train. Atami steps out to see the command car escaping into the distance, but his eyes quickly lock onto a massive military missile secured to his section of the train. Meanwhile, back in the dining car, Jagger turns on his employers, ruthlessly executing the officers one by one to claim the entire suitcase of cash for himself. Surviving soldiers from the rear cars try to board Atami's section, but Atami ignites the massive missile, instantly incinerating them with a backblast. Using the thrust of the rocket to propel his severed coach forward, Atami rapidly pursues the command car. As Jagger enjoys his victory drink and counts his money, he notices the cabin lights beginning to flicker violently. Turning around, his triumphant smile vanishes as Atami's carriage slams into his, and the legendary warrior crashes through the door to launch a brutal assault. A robust, bloody fight breaks out inside the dwelling. After exchanging vicious blows with bottles and a fork, Jagger gains the upper hand, brutally beating a gravely injured Atami down with an iron rod. Belittling Atami's revenge, Jagger strikes him out with a shovel right next to the secured rocket and arrogantly asks for his last words. Instead, Atami spits out the missile's main locking pin. The freed missile surges forward, jamming inside the narrow train cabin just inches from Jagger's face. As Atami watches from his detached coach, a brief moment of relief washes over Jagger before the rocket engine charges again, tearing through his face and completely detonating the train. At the Soviet-Finnish border rail tracks, two guards hear the massive explosions echoing from the distance and raise their rifles in defensive anticipation. Through the thick smoke, they spot Atami approaching on a manual rail cart, packed to the brim with his logs and accompanied by his loyal dog. As the traveler draws near, he presents his passport. The border guards look at the document, instantly recognize the legendary warrior, and snap into a respectful salute, permitting him entry into his homeland. Back in Finland, Atami is finishing construction on his house, his faithful dog resting comfortably by his side. A group of local men approaches the property carrying axes and sickles. Sensing a threat, Atami instinctively reaches for his own weapon to prepare for battle. However, the men state they simply came to offer some extra help. Bewildered and profoundly moved, Atami lowers his weapon as tears well up in his eyes. As the neighbors roll up their sleeves and begin working together, the legendary warrior finally feels loved after ages of isolation. With this, the story of the film comes to an end.